Hey guys, I'm Daniel Markham. I wrote the domain model for domain modeling. Thought today we'd look at some meta stuff like how conversations happen, how difficult conversations happen. Today it looks like the topic is legislatures going bad. So over the last 2,000 or 3,000 years, it's pretty common for groups of people in senatorial or House of Lords, various legislative branches, to sort of get absorbed in their own things and to get, I don't know, sort of in a bad way such that they look really silly. An example, we have Caligula here, I think it's about AD 30-35, who made his horse a senator. And you might ask yourself, how could the emperor make a horse a senator? I mean, the Senate was the power in Rome, right? The whole purpose of Rome was it had a Senate. But at some point, the Senate became sort of a supernumerary, useless device. It was sort of a house unto itself. So why do legislators go bad? Why do we have, in this country, 3 equal branches of government in which one branch seems to be quite weak for some reason? I have no idea why, and let's explain it, okay? There are 4 reasons, right? First reason, ooh, hang on. The first reason is that big chiefs always beat committees. So the executive has a power that committees never have. And our founders in this country, in the United States, acknowledged that by making the executive the sole source of authority in times of war. Because there are some things that only one person can do, right? One person can be responsible for forming armies and strategy and all that. There are places where committees make sense, there are places where an executive makes sense. Big chiefs, the sole actor, always beats committees. Always, right? If you look at this in startup terms, the little startup guys, 2-3 person teams, always beat the 4,000 person companies because they're nimble, they're quick, they can respond immediately, they have a single voice. You just can't beat a small group of people or one person. Advance this thing. Right, so the next one is ambition has to go somewhere. A majority leader of the U.S. Senate said about 100 years ago that the U.S. Senate was like having 100 Napoleons. And he had a good point. If you get to be a senator, it's because you have a lot of ambition, right? Whether it's in Rome or here or any other sort of legislature. So the Senate and legislatures in general are places where people of great ambition gravitate towards. And that's the way I guess it should be. I mean, if you did a bunch of other stuff that's really cool, you should try to make a difference for the world. However, if you have some sort of system of government where there is an executive, where there's some sort of president or prime minister or whatever, then only one person can be that person. So you're still ambitious, so where does that go? It turns out that ends up going into building empires, making stuff for your kids, trying to get a bunch of statues or roads made after you. You can look down through history. It has to go somewhere, and it's not going to go into becoming the prime minister or whatever, or the emperor. So ambition has to go somewhere, so it's not going to go to, I'm going to be the best, lord I can, or I'm not going to be the best senator I can. It's got to go somewhere else. Over time, people forget, and this is the big one. No matter how you set up a system of government, in this, I'm talking from the United States right now in 2019 or so. This system was set up as equal branches, co-equal branches of government. No matter how you set it up, over time, if you don't use something, they forget about it, right? So, for instance, the House of Representatives, and the Senate in the United States, has the power to subpoena people. They don't respond. They have the power to imprison them, as they should. They have the power to investigate broad swaths of things, as they should. Not only criminal matters, but anything, because they're our representatives. They're supposed to figure out what to do, right? That's their job. But it's been a long, long time since they've actually imprisoned anybody. So now they're kind of wondering, well, gee, I don't know, maybe we should let things go. Same thing happened in Rome, same thing happened in a bunch of other places. If you don't use a power over time, you forget why it was important. Inertia plays a big part, right? Finally, it's reverse evolution. There are these other three factors: the executive, the ambition is to go somewhere. Over time, people forget. And they're not really that important. We're talking about 10 or 20 years. We're talking about 50, 60, 80 years. Well, I don't remember what happened 30 years ago, and I'm a little more than 30 years old. 80 years, 100 years. Over time, people completely forget what the heck's going on, what's important, what's not important, what might work, what might not work. And so reverse evolution starts taking place, where if you do stand out, right? If you do want to use ambition to make your body be important, if you don't forget, if you want to stand up to the big chief, all these things, if you fight these other three things, they're going to kick your ass out, right? Because you don't fit in. Big groups of people are automatically, socially, herds. And they're going to act like herds over long periods of time. So anyway, that's why legislatures go bad. The interesting thing here is not, I guess, my points. I think the interesting thing is that there are evolutionary systems at play, right? Over when you're looking at one person, groups of people, they have nothing to do with the actual form of government even. Any sort of group of people over time is going to evolve to forgetting about things, ambition goes elsewhere, not standing out, right? It really doesn't have to do with the system of government. It's just about evolutionary systems. One more of this. I'm Daniel Markham, and I will see you on the internet.